Welcome back. David Heurtel in for Elias. Well, despite the numbers saying that affordable housing starts are considerably lower than they were years ago, despite the constant stories we see in the media about families and individuals not being able to find a place to live here in Montreal because of the high rents and the lack of supply in housing and the prices that are out of reach for most of us, the premier's saying, you know what, it's a good thing the prices are high. It means that salaries are up, so it means our economy's doing great. And our housing minister is saying, well, you know what, if rent is too high, just, take advantage and invest in real estate. That's what we're getting from our government on this situation. Premier's talking about the fact this is going to be his fifth July 1st as premier, and he doesn't see a real big problem. Well, we're going to talk now to someone who's seen many July 1st as president and CEO of the Welcome Hall Mission. Sam Watts joins us. Thank you for your time, Sam.
Hey, good morning, David. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Well, look, it's Friday. It's a wonderful sunny day, and I guess just going to your lead-in, as we approach July 1st, I think I'm becoming a little more concerned than our premier, a little more concerned than our housing minister, and a little more concerned than what I'm hearing from City of Montreal officials.
So tell me, Sam, you've seen many July 1sts as CEO of the Welcome Hall Mission. Tell me, how are things shaping up? Are you seeing impending signs of this July 1st being worse than the other ones? And let's face it, last year and a couple of years ago, it wasn't rosy either.
Yeah, I think the answer is, and my concern is that the city held a news conference this week, which you probably saw, where they expressed great confidence in themselves. And look, there's only 300 people that have accessed our service so far. And I think that's being a little bit short-sighted, never mind what our premier's saying about the wonderfulness of a booming economy. A booming economy that leaves people behind isn't really a good economy in the long run, as we all know. But there's four, I'll call them leading indicators that should cause us some concern if we take a step back. Now, let me sort of list them for you, and then you can decide whether I'm full of hot air or not. But the first one is the vacancy rate in Montreal is around 1.7%. That's low. It's a historic low. It very rarely has dipped below that, and so what that means is it's becoming increasingly challenging, particularly at the affordable end, for people to find a place that's suitable. The second thing is that we're seeing more pop-ups of tents and visibility of homelessness in places we've never seen it before, in virtually every borough.
In Hunsik. I saw a story in Hunsik.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're everywhere. We've seen them in the West Island even. So the third thing, and this is an interesting one, the TAL, T-A-L, the organization that oversees rentals in Montreal, has indicated that there's been a 34% increase in complaints by landlords for non-payment of rent this year. Now, that's not because renters are trying to get out of paying their rent. It's because they can't afford it. And so that kind of an increase should set off alarm bells. And the fourth one, and this is even more interesting to us at Welcome Hall Mission, is we've seen a continued increase in people accessing food security services. These are people who are housed precariously, but at the end of the month, they've got to make choices about, do I pay my rent or buy food? And so we've gone from serving about 6,000 people every month to about 12,000 people every month, and most of those are coming more than one time. So when you put those four things together, David, I'm seeing something that should actually concern our elected officials.
I don't think you're full of hot air, Sam. I think you're putting your finger on exactly what's happening and what's going on. Now, I don't see a lot of, I see no empathy and accountability on the provincial side. The city's saying, okay, we're going to be on top of this. But it seems that, again, this is my theme today. I'm talking about Groundhog Day in healthcare and education, racial profiling. Anyways, we're talking about all these issues. But for the homeless and the housing situation, here we go again, Sam. And we're still treating the symptoms and not the causes.
Yep, that's exactly the problem. And unfortunately, as you and I have talked in the past, the government and even the not-for-profit sector has inherited a system that's predicated on patches. So we run to the problem and we put a patch on quickly. And what we really need to do is take a step back and say, we're facing a different set of circumstances with a different set of numbers in 2023, and it's going to continue to be the same if we don't do something about it. So rather than taking the patch approach, which used to work 20 years ago, why don't we rethink how we're doing things? And the good news is we know exactly what works. We just haven't had the courage of the various levels of government, along with the healthcare system and civil society, to come together and say, let's take steps that are going to get us headed in the right direction, so that we don't find ourselves looking like some of the larger American cities, or even places like Vancouver, Winnipeg, Calgary, Toronto, you name your other Canadian city. In most cases, those other Canadian cities are in far worse shape than we are, and we don't want to head in that direction because we don't have to.
I don't get. We have politicians saying all these things and no action, and it is a human right. I mean, housing is a human right. It's fundamental. I mean, I don't have data like you, but I mean, I see it in Montreal. I've been living there for 5 years. I'm seeing more homeless people. It's just you can see it that there's just something happening. It's not moving in the right direction. Now that the dust has settled, Sam, on the whole Ville Marie campsite situation, what's your takeaway or takeaways from all this and how it was managed and ultimately the end result that happened? I mean, what should we that are not having to deal with this every day, what should we take away from this whole saga?
Well, I think one of the things that is helpful, and this will be helpful for your listeners too, is to know that for 80% of the people who fall into homelessness, there are some pretty coherent solutions that are out there. In many cases, we're not getting to them fast enough because our system isn't as efficient as it should be, as it ought to be. Number of fixes that we need to bring to it. But there's about 20% of the population that experiences homelessness that gets into chronicity with multiple comorbidities, very complex situations. That's what we were dealing with underneath the Ville Marie. And there aren't solutions that are readily available for people in that situation. Now, I would argue that as a society, what we need to do is we need to develop solutions for the most vulnerable, the most precarious, people who struggle with addictions of a variety of sorts and types, people who are struggling with mental illness and would not do well if they were just dropped into an apartment and left on their own. But one of the things that I keep bothering our ministers about is the need for psychosocial support post-housing. And so if we can get people to the point where we're housing them and we've got the funding to continue to follow them, then we've got a good chance of helping them stay in housing. And once they get used to that, living in an apartment and doing the things that we have to do when we live in apartments, that's the solution that we need to have. We need to ultimately, as a society, take care of the most vulnerable. And I think in general, Canadians, Montrealers, we agree on that. So now we've just got to go do it.
Let's hope we do finally do it. Thank you so much, Sam. I wish you all the best for this upcoming week.
Thank you, David. You take care.
You too. Sam Watts, President and CEO of the Welcome Hall Mission.